Welcome to Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw. That would be your Chickasaw native, your Chickasaw Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite and greatest son, Mr. Gerald Brisco. And we have got today the two greatest guests in the history of the world, the two greatest people in the history of the world. We've got each other. That's right. We are actually this Christmas season, depends on when you're watching it. Could be Easter, doesn't matter. This is evergreen. We're interviewing each other. So, Mr. Brisco, welcome to the Brisco and Bradshaw Show.
You know, John, it's a pleasure to be able to interview you. On our popular website, Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw on Twitter, there's always requests. Well, you guys ought to talk to each other a little bit. There's enough content there and enough history and everything. Between me and my brother, I can fill a page or two, and with you're the longest reigning wrestling god in the history of SmackDown TV, man. We got a lot of stories, and plus your partnership with Ron Simmons, which we'll get into, and how that came about.
Well, but wait a minute though. This is a big historic month. This is 50 years, half a century since your brother Jack Brisco did one of the craziest things I've heard in the history of professional wrestling.
So, and it wasn't a screw job.
No. It was not a screw job. It may have screwed the NWA a little bit, but it was
a little bit. But we'll get into some facts here, John, and it'll show you that my brother did not screw the NWA. I mean, he fulfilled his obligation to the percentage of it, which I'll get into it. So, how do you want to start this, man?
Well, I'd love to start with just the thing about your brother, because I think this is so interesting, and it's a story that's never really been told by you, I don't think.
No, it hadn't, and I don't think Jack told it. He mentioned it in his book a little bit, and but December 4th, 1974 to December 8th, I believe it, December 8th, 1984. And it's 2020, it's Y2K shit that got me confused. But anyway, 50 years ago this month, and just to set the scene a little bit, my brother hadn't been champion very long. He won the championship, as everybody knows, from Harley Race in Houston, Texas, when Bruce Pritchard and little Tommy Pritchard were at ringside taking pictures, documented for everybody. For some reason, a mysterious thing happened. There wasn't any filming of that title change. Up until then, just about every title change had been filmed. But if you go back in archive, there's no footage of Jack defeating Harley for the World Heavyweight Championship. And everybody knows the controversy that happened there with the Funks, who play, by the way, a very integral role in this whole thing with Jack and Giant Bubba. So let's get into it. Jack hadn't been champion long in 1974 when he received a call from Terry Funk, his own nemesis, Terry Funk. Terry said, Jack, as you know, Dory and I are booking for Giant Bubba over in Japan now. We have to book. We have the book over there. We control it. Bubba wants to make you a deal. Bubba wants to be world heavyweight champion. Jack said, Terry, everybody wants to be world heavyweight champion, and just kind of set the table a bit. Jack loved the people of Japan. He loved the food of Japan. He loved the traditions of Japan, but he hated going over there. And John, as you know, you made that trip many times. It's a hell of a long trip. And so Jack, he said, it's not on the schedule and I can't do it. And Terry, being Terry and Dory, having the power and friendship with Sam Mutzik, who was president of NWA, said, well, we called Sam and we're just asking for future dates, for Amarillo and see what you had open. We know you have that December date wide open. You can basically do what you want to do if you want to book over there. And Jack started thinking, well, maybe this is my chance, So Jack said, I'll tell you what, Terry, I'll make what's your offer? I know you guys got an offer for me. So Terry made him an offer. And Jack said that was one of the biggest insults that Terry ever gave him. Terry and Jack were really tight. It was $5,000. Jack said, wait a minute, Terry, you want me to go all the way to Japan on my week off, drop the belt, and pick it back up at the end of the week and have to work in between there? I don't want to do it for that. He said, Number one, he said, I had to post $25,000 bond to get the belt. I carried the money to Sam much myself. And there's a great story about that. Did I ever tell you the missing $5,000?
No.
Okay, so to get to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, you had to make a deposit for the belt, $25,000.
The
It had to
champion
be
did.
the champion did, or whoever was sponsoring the champion. So Eddie Graham was sponsoring Jack. So Eddie called me. Jack wasn't booked in St. Louis, and I was booked up in St. Louis. So Eddie called me. He said, "Come over to my house. You're booked in St. Louis Friday." He said, "I want to give you the bundle to take to Sam Munchnick." I said, "The bundle." He said, "Yeah, your brother's got to put a $25,000 deposit down, and I'm helping him with the deposit, and I got the cash here in my house. Come and get it." Holy shit! I don't want $25,000 in my pocket. So I go over to Eddie Graham. We of course count it all out. It's $100 bills in the old Halliburton, the old wrestler Halliburton. Every wrestler back in those days had those Halliburtons. It's all bundled up neatly and everything. We counted out $25,000. So we start bullshitting a little bit about what's going to happen, with Jack and everything, and with the title, and actually what it could even mean to me and mean to Florida, as a territory. So we had a great conversation. I probably excused myself, go to the bathroom, come back. I folded up the briefcase. I went, and the TSA had just started. It wasn't like it is, of course, today. So I'm carrying that bundle of money around, and so I go through there. Man, I'm scared to death. I got this briefcase full of $100 bills. I'm an old country boy from Oklahoma. I never had that much money in my possession ever. So we make it through, and Sam meets me in St. Louis. We go to Sam's office. All right, kid, let's count it out. So he opens up the Halliburton. He kept the Halliburton, by the way, too. So I don't want to carry it back anyway, but he kept the Halliburton. So we counted it out. Sam's got a couple of bundles. I got a couple of bundles. He counts out 10 grand. I count out 10 grand, 20 grand. There's $5,000 missing. John, there's $5,000 missing out of that. And I think, well, I know I've never had that money out of my sight since I gained possession of it. I don't have 5 grand. Sam being a hard ass word, the other 5 grand words. I don't know if there's a work between Sam and Eddie or not, but I'm getting the third degree by Sam, and man, I'm sweating because I'll bet being called a thief on this thing. So I pick up Sam's phone and I call Eddie Graham. I said, "Eddie, there seems to be a problem here." He said, "What kind of problem, Brisco?" And I said, "Eddie, there's only $20,000. Well, I gave you $25,000. I said, "I know you did, Eddie. I counted it out with you. But I've counted it out 15 times here with Sam, and there's 20 grand or 5 grand missing." "Well, let me go over my desk and see if I can see what happened, because I haven't been in my office since then." Here he goes. I hear this rumbling around. And I hear this. Yeah, I found it. It's somehow slipped between the desk and my easy chair, and I didn't see it. Sure, Eddie.
5 grand.
5 grand. Yeah. So I said, "Well, you tell Sam you're responsible for that 5 grand, so I can get my peace of mind back." So I put the phone on, and Sam, him and Sam, okay, everything's cool. So he said, "Okay, you go get dressed now." So I went to the arena, and I went and got dressed. But boy, what a nervous time! But anyway, Jack is.
Well, wait a minute. What was Eddie trying to pull a fast one on you? Why was the 5
Like
grand
I said, I don't really know, John. That's I never had. I had when I got back to Florida. Of course, I asked Eddie. Anyway, he said, "Oh, we was counting it out, and I was just throwing it back in the briefcase." He said, "When I tossed it in the briefcase, it probably fell in between my chair and my desk." Yeah, sure.
I've never had 5 grand fall out.
I've never had 5 grand. They're in a bundle like that, But I don't. Like I said in the beginning, I don't know if there's a work on me, trying to. But I folded, man. I was folded under pressure, man. I didn't have 5 grand to my name at that time. I'm just about. I want to work St. Louis and work there for the rest of the year, and not having make any money out of it, So anyway, so Jack is telling Terry, as you got to put up $25,000 So I'm gonna risk putting up $25,000 for $5 grand. It don't make sense. And Jack said, you know, I don't want to do it because, like I said, Jack really didn't want to go because, as you know, that time the NWA champion schedule was just, you know, horrendous. One of the worst schedules there was in the history of man. So, Jack said, Dora, unless you come up with a better offer, call me. You know, it's off. So, good night. So, about 2 days later, Terry called Jack back. And during that 2 days, Jack had concocted this little formula that he could really make some money with. So he came up with, and I didn't figure that out, so I'm gonna have to go to my cheat sheet here. So it's something like, all right, I'll drop the title for 10K. Yeah, that's no problem. But I got to be there a week. So during that week, I get 10K per match that week.
Per match?
Per match that week. And I also get like $5 grand expenses per day that week.
Oh my goodness.
And it'll be an all cash. And I want it when I get out of the plane, because if it's not there at the airport in cash, I'm getting on the next plane. And we know how honest Jack is when he says he's getting on the next plane headed home. And I'm headed home. And screw you. And so the total amount that Jack figured up came to 1974 figures around $250,000, which, you know,
oh my goodness,
yeah, all in cash
in 1974.
In 1974.
So Jack wanted $250,000 when he landed at the airport.
Yeah, in cash.
You know, you know, one of the problems with that, Jerry, is you got to deal with $250,000 the rest of the week.
Yeah. Well, here's and not only that, when you come home, you know, that you couldn't bring more than like $10,000 cash when you came home. But like I said before, TSA wasn't like it is now, where they frisky and all that shit. So anyway, he got there. Jack said there was another briefcase loaded full of $100 bills. So Jack goes in one of the little private airlines offices in there. He counts out the money. Well, then he brings a roll of tape with him, and he taped the entire briefcase up with the tape, and he's signing his name along the seams, and, you know, doing this so he knows if anybody's opened it up during the week that they've got to him. So he took it, carried it, put it in a hotel safe. So I stayed in the hotel safe for a week. So so he went. He had the match. And, you know, of course, he did business with Baba, and he said, everybody said, you know, he said he wasn't worried about Giant Baba at all. He said Baba was really full of integrity. He said, you know, I didn't have to worry about that part of getting screwed by Baba, because Baba had too much integrity and had too much at stake reputation-wise. He said, but some of the jabronis that was hanging around, some of the so-called the koozies or whatever they are, you know, and those type of people. He said, but, and also, I was there for a couple of days, and Pat O'Connor was there, and Ken Mantell was there also, to kind of be in Jack's corner, you know, just in case somebody was trying to jump in the ring, you know, one of us could help take them out.
So Jack brought those guys. That was standard procedure, right?
Well, that was part of Sam's deal. That was kind of when there's, you know, you always had backup there and something like that. So where were we here? So, and they have the match, and everything goes accordingly. Jack drops the title of Baba. Baba's champion. Next night, you know, Jack worked with Classic Freddie Blassie. He worked a couple other matches. I think I even worked the tag team with him before. The night I think he was dropping it back to, or Bubba was supposed to drop it back to Jack, was either in Hiroshima or at the Cortisone, or whatever it's called, what's in that building, big building. In
Which
Tokyo.
building and where?
Tokyo.
Oh, Budokan?
Budokan, yeah. Drop it back. One of those places. I can't remember exactly what it was. So anyway, it went, and it was a brutally cold night, and back in those days, the buildings didn't have heating or air conditioning. It was just brutally cold. And so Jack was working with Bob, and right before the finish was supposed to come, Jack nearly got knocked out. Forget getting no title back. Now they'd have to go back to the state without a title. Bob threw him in. Bob had that big ass elbow that he used to throw. Anybody worked with Bob and knew that damn elbow was nothing but bone there. He had no flesh on him. No. He hit Jack. He hit Jack right here, where his chin. He actually bit through his entire lip. His lip was kind of hanging off. And so Jack was scared to death of the Japanese doctors, He did not want to go to a Japanese doctor. So he got a roll of tape and they butterflied it shut, so he could travel and then his mouth swelled up like that. And they, like I said, now he's got to worry about the fact of getting all that damn money back. Well, I'm carrying a bunch of money. I got money taped to my ass. I got money taped to my waist, everything. Jack got money taped under his armpits, taped around his chest, got a big old gym suit top on.
So you guys have got $250,000.
$250,000 walking through, 1970, walking through the damn airports and walking through Hawaii. As soon as we get to Hawaii, we go to a bathroom, find one of those old bathrooms we can lock, we take off all that money, put it in a big old bag. We're home, we're home free. So anyway, there's where the story gets really good. Cool. You're talking about screwing the NWA. So all this time.
First, wait a minute. While you were there in Japan, were you guys ever concerned? I know you said Jack wasn't about Baba double crossing you and keeping the title. You guys ever concerned at all about that?
No. Jack said Baba had too much integrity. Jack had a pretty good friendship with Baba and had a lot of respect and a lot. The Japanese people, they have integrity, but like I said, it's not exactly Baba or your opponent that, as we find out in all these screw jobs we're going to cover down the line somewhere, that it's the other people involved in that, But
and like Pat O'Connor,
Jack swore that Baba would never make a day with that title if he tried to screw it,
So, and Pat O'Connor, I mean, that was kind of standard, people, Harley traveled with some people overseas.
Exactly.
Make sure nobody double crossed.
Make sure there's nobody jumping in, nobody double crossing. Yeah, it was kind of standard procedure. Harley had his guys, and the Funks had each other.
That's pretty salty business when you got to send somebody along with you.
Yeah, well, our businesses can get salty at times.
Yes, it can.
That's what makes it so great, man. That's the reason we love it so much. But
so now you're coming back and you guys are loaded. I mean, absolutely loaded. Got money taped all over you. Then you get it all off.
Got money coming out the armpits, man.
And then, so what happens when you get back and the NWA finds out about it? Because the NWA didn't know about any of this, right?
Oh, yeah, the NWA, Jack cleared it all. He said, I'm going to go over and drop it, and I'm getting it back. And that
he did.
Said, And Sam was worried about getting his damn 3%. The NWA getting it.
Oh, see, I didn't understand that part because I'd always heard that Jack just did it.
No, Jack made the deal before he told Sam, and then what's Sam going to do? They can't take the belt off him right then, So Jack had already made the deal. So anyway, they get back, and Sam meets Jack at the airport, which all the time Jack was champion. Jack said Sam never met him at the airport for anything. Gave him a ride back to the office and everything. And Sam said, "All right, give him my $3,000." So Jack gave him the $3,000, and Sam counts it out, and there's something like $3,000 there, whatever 3% of it is $10,000. $7,500 there. No, 3% of $10,000.
Oh, 3% of $10,000.
Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he dropped the match for as champion. See, this is where it gets technical. Yeah,
that's only $300.
Yeah, so he gave him the Sam said, "Jack, where's the rest of the money?" Jack said, "Sam, the champion pays you 3% when he's champion. I dropped it. From there on out, I wasn't your champion no more. I was an independent guy. I was working for myself. I did the bookies. I did the sweat. I did the butts of my lip open. So all that money is my money." And that's where all the discrepancy comes from. Sam thought he was getting 3% of that $250,000.
So Sam thinks he's getting $7,500 and he got $300.
They got $300, and Jack said, "Okay, Sam. You want it?" He said, "Baba was a champion during that time. Baba actually owes you the money, not me, because the champion owes you the money. Not the ex-champion.
Well, you were on the tour with him, right?
I'm on the Japanese tour with him, yeah.
So did they make, by paying Jack $250,000? Did they make that money back in the tour, or was that just an ego trip from Baba?
Well, it was an ego trip, and here's the deal. You know, Inoki had just split from Baba, right? So
Yeah.
Baba's needing a kick in the ass. So not a Japanese had never been heavyweight NWA heavyweight world champion. Baba is going to be the first NWA heavyweight world champion. It kind of gave his company the kick in the ass to take the limelight away from Inoki. So all that was the investment that Baba was making.
So Baba's putting down a huge chip on the table to get that NWA title for him.
For his company, to give his company credibility.
He lost money as far as the gate was concerned, but overall it was for business.
Yeah. And they were packing every house too, you know, especially after Baba won that championship, you know, they're coming in first time ever Japanese world champion. So they did, if they lost, I don't think they lost much, but it was more the integrity stuff, giving Baba's company the boost over Inoki's boost, because Inoki didn't have the title, Baba had the title. So that was a big political battle. So I think it was done mostly for political.
Was it reported in the States that the title had switched?
You know, back in the 1980s, professional wrestling meant shit, you know, and unfortunately, no. I mean, you know, the magazines, you know, of course, you know, even back in those days, the Japanese magazines were prized, same for USA guys to go over and be in the Japanese magazine. So, of course, they covered it, and that was the thing, that footage of Baba beating Jack has been shown, you know, probably a billion times over and over in Japan. I mean,
yeah,
you know, they're both legendary for that match there. So anyway,
in the States, though, it wasn't reported.
Yeah, no, in the States it was reported by the aftermags, yeah, but it wasn't reported like on CNN or like ESPN like they are now, you know, when something big happens in our business.
So
it happened so quick too, mind you, because those magazines are put out a month in advance, right? Usually a month or two in advance. So it happened, you know, it couldn't be in there that night, you know, Jack Brisco dropped the belt to Giant Bubba. So it was delayed, what we call in our business tape delayed a little bit before they could get the news in there about it. By then it was old history, nobody really gave a shit, you know.
So Munchnick, what did he
Munchnick was calling Jack, and finally, you'll love this here. So, okay, so the next week after Jack left St. Louis, Dory called Jack and said, Jack, Sam called me. Sam feels like you really betrayed him in the NWA by not giving him all the money. And you should give him some more money. And Jack said, Dory, you and Terry are the bookers of it. You guys made a lot of money off of this thing, too. Why don't you guys take that percentage that Baba was supposed to pay him and pay him his 3%? And then everything will be clear. Of course, the Funks never paid Sam either, you know. So Sam was ended up the loser on the thing. But Jack followed the rules. Your champion pays 3%. When you're ex-champion, you don't pay that 3%. So Jack paid 3% right up the time he was champion. And after that, you know, middle finger.
That is so good.
That's how it went down, brother.
That is great. What a great story. You know, I heard so many legendary things about this story, that it was Sam was not in on it. Sam didn't know that Jack just did it. This is completely different.
Yeah.
It's funny how the truth sometimes is completely different.
Yeah, it certainly is. And speaking about the truth, John, you know, you're in several football Hall of Fames in West Texas there. You know, you grew up being a great athlete. You know how I like to start our interviews. I like to find out about, you know, growing up, you know, your love for the sport, because I know your passion personally for the sport of professional. When did that passion begin? And tell us a little bit about that John Layfield running those football fields that eventually ended up getting him drafted, and the basketball, the hoop John Layfield, and the track and field John Layfield. Tell us a little bit about your background.
The track and field nobody's ever heard, but so I'll be happy to tell that.
That's what I want to hear.
Hammer far ar to make it the Nationals, but my knee gave out on me. That's when I had knee surgery in college, so I never did.
That was your first knee surgery, right?
Yeah, that was my first.
How far did you throw it, John?
180, I believe. which I
180.
think
What
I
was
think
what was
185. I
you
sold it
qualified?
between one. I sold it between 180 and 200, I believe.
Yeah,
And I believe you had to throw it 175, I believe, to make it to nationals. So I had the ability to make it. Now that was not close to the world record. You know, the Russians.
what was the world record?
I don't remember at the time, but it was in the 200s.
I think 205 rings a bell there for some
The
reason.
Russians had the world record, and it was way out there, way beyond anything Americans could do. Way beyond. It wasn't even close.
Wow. So
But
what were you ranked in the nation U.S.? Were you number one hammer thrower in the nation?
No. Cliff, there was a guy in Abilene Christian that was great. Cliff Falcons was an All-American hammer thrower, discus thrower, big discus too. He was much better than me. He taught me into coming out, and I was throwing in practice that distance that would take me to the nationals, but my knee couldn't take the spinning. You know, you spin, with your left leg straight.
Yeah.
And that was I couldn't take. That was the one I had the knee surgery on. So I couldn't take the spinning. Finally, I just had to quit trying. But Cliff he was an All-American. He threw it much further than I ever did. But I threw far enough leading up to it that I could have made it to nationals.
Wow. And you come from a very athletic family. Your sisters were pretty fair athletes. One's a great coach. Al, tell us a little bit about your sister.
My older sister Sylvia. I have one sister, Sylvia. She was an all-state tennis player, doubles champion at Sweetwater, Texas, and then she ended up coaching later in life. She didn't start out coaching. She was a good college tennis player. She was Texas Coach of the Year.
How many state champions in a row did she win? 7 or something like that?
Yeah, she had, I believe, one year she had 3 out of 5. So you had 5 tennis trophies that you could win, gold medals, from singles, male and female, doubles, male and female, then mixed. So 5 total. And I think she won 3. She won 3 and placed in the 4th one.
She's the smart Layfield, right?
She's a smart one.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Okay, no doubt about it. She moved to Oklahoma, right?
No, she didn't. Her kids are in Oklahoma.
Okay,
one of her kids.
Well, right? The apple fell off the tree real close.
I'm trying to talk her daughter Leanne into her. She's married a wonderful young man named Connor.
Once you bring that Oklahoma area, you'll never go back to that
happens to be an Okie. I'm trying to get them south of the Red River.
Yeah.
Bring them into paradise.
Yeah. So when you finished up high school, you had scholarship offers, but you want to stay around home. What's that story there?
Yeah, in 1976, I used to watch all Abilene Christian's home games. My whole family went there. It's right near Sweetwater. And I'll go over there because Wilbur Montgomery was going to break the collegiate rushing record. Maybe Gil Sayers, I can't remember whose record it broke. He broke one of the collegiate rushing records. Yeah. Everybody wanted to see it because Wilbur was so good. And you can imagine Wilbur Montgomery in Division II. It was incredible. And I went over there to watch on homecoming, and sure enough, he broke the record. But Ovo Johansson, a Swedish soccer player, was kicking extra points and field goals, kicked a 69-yard field goal that day. Longest to this day that's ever been kicked. And I was there with my cousin in the end zone. And I just remember thinking that was the greatest football experience of my life. I see Will Montgomery break the collegiate rushing record. I see Ovo Johansson kick the longest field goal that ever been kicked. And I thought, man, I want to go to college here. So that's, and plus I had a lot of family pressure to go there. I'm glad I went there, but football wise, been smarter to go to Texas or Nebraska, or not Oklahoma, but Texas or Nebraska.
Did you have any fielders from Oklahoma?
Yeah, I was
Oklahoma State, or just the red and red?
Oh, from Oklahoma. Yeah, that place in Norman. Yeah, I somehow got through customs to get to my house. Yeah, I was forced. I was all state in high school, and then at that point they had all Texas super team, which was all the classifications together. Yeah. So they took one team out of all 5 at the time, 5 classifications, and made one super team, and I was all super team as well. And later,
I know there was an Oil Bowl team where you're on that Oil Bowl with Texas. That's a great high school game too. They don't get a lot of publicity.
Nope, I did not play in the Oil Bowl.
Did they have it at that time?
I don't remember if they did. I remember the Oil Bowl. I don't think they did because I don't remember.
Then Jack always said that was one of his biggest disappointments. Here he was an all-state football player, played all-state game, 3-time state champion, a high jump champion, all that stuff, but he didn't get selected to play that. Oil Bowl because they only took guys who had signed college football scholarship, and Jack had signed a wrestling scholarship. So
Yeah.
he didn't get selected to the Oil Bowl. He said, "Been my biggest disappointment. They want to go down, kick some Texas ass." He said. So okay, when did your love for the good old professional wrestling start to bite?
Oh, when I was a kid, my grandfather, who I love very much, was my mother's dad, was a big wrestling fan. And I used to watch wrestling every Saturday night with him on KTVT. I think it's channel 11, I think. It came on at 10 o'clock at night, went to 11:30, and always cut off, as the main event got in, you'd watch like
Yeah.
8 minutes of it, and then it cut off. I couldn't figure out every week why I couldn't get the
Why?
whole
Yeah.
yeah. But we used to talk about Fritz and Brody and all the guys that came through. And then I remember when Kevin debuted, David.
Were the Hills your favorite back then?
No, Fritz was. Fritz was
Yeah.
everybody in Texas loved Fritz. And everybody in Texas loved the Funks out of Amarillo because we got both TVs. We're right in the distance, right where the TVs barely overlap. So no, Fritz was the big guy by far, and the Funks.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed watching it with my grandfather. I loved it. But then football got so big. When you're in West Texas, that's all there is.
That's all there is.
I mean, we had football and spring football, as they say. That's the two sports.
Yeah.
They only let us have baseball.
That's one thing about playing in an area that's so gung ho about that. You draw those big, huge crowds, and same with wrestling in Oklahoma. So when you went, I mean, other than being nervous over the fact you weren't ever intimidated by crowds, right?
Because we played in front of
from a young age. You'd been in front of a lot of people.
We played in Texas Stadium in the old Texas Stadium with a hole in the roof in high school, and there was like 50,000 people there.
Yeah,
I mean that was in high school. We used to have, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 at home games. Our whole town was only 10,000.
Yeah. Those Friday Night Lights stories.
Yeah, everybody came out for the game. That was all. There wasn't anything to do. There was football. That was it. They didn't have baseball because they didn't want the kids playing baseball instead of spring football. If you ran track, you still had to go through spring.
Yeah.
And if you played basketball, they'd cancel the basketball season all the way up until when the playoffs in football were over. Because all the kids, we didn't have any kids. We had just enough to, play football or basketball, not both.
Wow. Yeah, that's same in where my schools I grew up. Basketball. We had one year we got lucky and we made it to state playoffs, and there wasn't enough guys to suit up for the basketball or the wrestling team.
That's right. Yeah. So we started. I remember my senior year in basketball. We started like a game before district started. So everybody else had already played 15 games or something. We played one because all the kids that were on the basketball team were on the football team.
I remember the most brutal match I can remember having is we played in the state finals. Now there was a big blizzard in Oklahoma. We were supposed to play on Friday night. We played it on a Saturday night. So that Tuesday there was a wrestling match. Us and Tulsa Rogers. Rogers is one of the powerhouse teams. That historically powerhouse. They always had a lot of big guys, but they didn't make the football playoffs. So I couldn't make my weight, so I wrestled heavyweight that night, and I wrestled this big old strong country boy. Man, I got out there and I stalled, John. I locked my hands back there. You could just grab a leg and hang on. That last period, 2 minutes, I hung on that leg. My forearms were getting cramped. When the referee blew the whistle, I could not have cussed my hands. The referee had to twist my hands off. And I looked like Popeye the Sailor Man. I held on so long. But man, you're just not in that wrestling shape. It's probably safe for basketball. You run up and down that damn court.
Oh,
it's a different type of shape, right?
Oh my goodness, because we used to play. La Mesa was the big basketball team, and they were really good. They had some brothers, I remember in high school. I can't remember their names. They went on to play, had a good college career. I don't think they made pro, but they were really good. But all they played was basketball. So we went down to play them. They ran us out of the gym. We're not in shape. We've been just come out of football. We just come out of football season. All of a sudden, we got to play these guys that are really good basketball players, and we probably had as good a team, even though they had better talent, specific talent. Those two brothers, but they just ran us out of the gym.
Yeah.
We're sucking for air, and they knew that we just got out of football, so all they were doing is pressing us, run and shoot, and they killed us.
Well, that's it. Next, go ahead. It's your turn.
Well,
I guess that's the way we're supposed to segue these things. Huh?
I guess, yeah, yeah. I tell you a funny story about college. When I was in college, we had a.
Well,
We,
I was going to get to that, but go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
That was just your high school. I was
Oh, okay. Well,
no, let's follow it through there. I'm a bad host here.
no, you're not. We're
See
supposed to.
that's what happens when I let you host the show all the time. I lose my manners here. So go ahead. All right, you're John Layfield. You're out of high school. You got the offer, but you decided to go home because you Wilbert Montgomery. Those don't know Wilbert Montgomery turned out to be one of the greatest NFL running backs too of all time. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, with the Eagles. So tell us a little bit about where you're going there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the stories about my junior year. So I started all 4 years. My first year, Pierce Holt, who ended up being All Pro at San Francisco 49ers, was at San Angelo State. Just a mistake. He double teamed and it knocks on me and breaks my leg straight back. I mean, literally, it broke. He hit the kneecap and broke it straight back. They were double teaming because he was such a stud. He actually called me in the hospital, which imagine how hard.
Wait a minute. You said they double teaming you because you were such a stud.
No. They're double teaming Pierce Holt because he was.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't me. It was Pierce Holt. He was a grown man.
I just wanted to get that clear.
No. And he actually found a number somehow and called me in the hospital. You know, I broke my femur and tore all the ligaments that crossed the knee. They told me I'd never play again. And anyway, I ended up playing the next year, started the next year. Anyway, my third year, I ended up making second team All-American, but and first team All-Conference. And I'm preseason All-American going into my senior year when I end up doing really well. Well, the athletic director at Abilene Christian hated athletics. So then he comes in. We had a basketball team that had like a 3-year home game winning streak. He fired the coach. We had a track coach that won 8 or 9 straight national championships. He fired the coach. He told our coach, quit recruiting these JUCO boys. They're not the good Christian kids he wanted. So our football team is going down. He hated me. I was an absolute rebel. He had gotten rid of my buddies who were older than me. So I'm like the last dinosaur left. So I'd got caught drinking as a junior, which was against the rules. So I'm under all kinds of trouble. Then the coach, because our team was so bad, said we're going to do bull in the ring to make kids tough. And my whole thing was, if they're not tough when they get here, we can't make them tough. You know, it's that. So anyway, I go out there every day and just bull in the ring, throw somebody out of the ring, and somebody else will get in there. So I had some freshmen ask me, said, how do you think you would do against a bear? And I said, oh, I'd kill a bear. You know, I'm 19, 20 years old, 20, whatever I am, 300 pounds.
Did you have the mullet then?
It was a bi-level cut.
Oh, you didn't have the Michael Hayes bi-level cut.
Yeah. And I remember Paul Bear Bryant wrestled a 300-pound bear. I thought it'd be great to wrestle a bear. So I forget all about it. Anyway, about a month later, these freshmen say, hey, the bear's here. I said, what bear? You said you'd wrestle a bear. And I said, what are you talking about? And they go, well, there's a bear. So they had signed me up to wrestle this bear. So
at the carnival?
No, at a bar.
At a bar.
Yeah, there's a cowboy bar, Butterfield Junction, across town that this bear was at. So me and my college roommates, the ones that had quit playing football but was still finishing up their degree, went over there to wrestle this bear. So I wrestle this bear, and this bear just damn near kills me. I mean, just annihilate. So it had long story. Bear almost killed me. So the next day, my head coach calls me, and John Payne, who's a really good man. I loved him. And he said, hey, John, I got to ask you a question. And this is like early in the morning. And I said, yes, sir. He said, did you wrestle a bear in a bar last night? And I said, you know how dumb that sounds? He looked at me and goes, you did, didn't you? And I said, maybe. He goes, listen to me. The athletic director is furious at you. Now, I'm already in trouble for getting caught drinking, even though I was of age, back then. But different strict rules at Abilene Christian. He goes, he wants to kick you out of school.
Wow.
He said, do you have a plausible explanation? And I'm sitting there thinking, every time I've gotten caught, I've told the truth. I'm going to lie. No doubt I'm just going to lie. So I walk into his office, and this guy who's ruined ACU sports, and he's sitting there, and you can tell he's just smug as he can be. He goes, You wrestle a bear at a bar? I said, you know how dumb that sounds? Wrestle a bear at a bar? I said, really? He said, so your answer is no. And now I think he's got me somehow. I don't know how, but he's got me. And I sat there and looked at it. I thought, you know, if I tell the truth, I'm gone. If I lie, I got a chance. So I said, right. I did not wrestle a bear. So somebody had been to the 1 hour photo and had taken pictures and had left them in the training room. He had pictures.
No.
Back in 1987 or 8, whatever it was. He had pictures of me wrestling a bear. And he throws them down on the table. He goes, what are those? And I said, oh, you said bear. Bob Shipley, who's one of my dear friends, he's my offensive line coach. He's told that joke forever. Oh, you said bear. He just ended up being the main recruiter at University of Texas.
I thought you said bear.
Oh my God. Bob's the best guy. I love Bob. But Bob loves to tell that story. Oh, you said bear. Oh, he threw the book at me. So I had as a preseason All-American, I was on the cover of the programs. I was on the homecoming program, all this stuff. I had to walk on as a senior. So they took my scholarship. And back then they didn't have the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So I couldn't transfer.
You were stuck,
And it was nice. I had to pay for school as a returning All-American my senior year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at least you didn't get kicked out of school. I bet you walked a fine line there, man.
Oh, an incredible fine line. A lot of things happened. A dorm director had pulled me into a private disciplinary meeting. I mean, there's some guys who just hated athletes, you know, and I was one of them. And I made it known that I didn't like them either. So I was not exactly easy, you know.
Oh, you and I know you probably in high school you were a little crazier than you were a little bit older because you did have a lot of sense there. I tell you what, Joe, when I was a freshman, you know who Henry Ibe is, right? One of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. And Henry P. Ibe, coach, Olympic team coach, you know, all the big stars, won several Olympics. Oklahoma State basketball coach and athletic director. My brother Jack, I followed my brother Jack into school, and Jack was one of those guys that he was probably like a lot of your buddies out there. He was a leader of the pack, and he got in trouble. So much trouble is unbelievable. So when I walked in, man, everybody would warn me about Henry Ibe. If you get called by Henry Ibe, you're in trouble. If Henry Ibe knows your name, you're in trouble. If he knows who you are by sight, you're in trouble. So we're walking down the old Gallagher Hall, and you got to go right past the basketball coaches and everything. So I'm walking past a couple of buddies. We're headed down to the weight room to work out. All of a sudden, I hear this, Brisco. When it comes from basketball office, I look around. It's Henry P. Ibe standing there. He gave me one of those. I'll come in there. I got to talk to you a second. You go on, kid. Whoever I was walking with. He took me in there, and he didn't take me in his office. He just pulled me in a little bit of the secretary's office. Mrs. Avery closed the door. He said, I want to tell you something, Brisco. He said, if you called me the trouble that your brother did, you won't last too much here. I put up with him because he was an outstanding athlete. Either you better be an outstanding athlete or you better have the cleanest damn nose you ever had in your life. Yes, sir, Mr. Ibe.
So you got heat over your brother.
Yeah, I got heat from my brother, man. So I had to walk the line because every time he'd see me, I'm looking at you, boy.
You remember Tex Cobb, the fighter?
Yeah, Randall Tex Cobb, yeah.
Yeah, Randall Tex Cobb, one of the toughest men that ever walked to this planet. Yeah. So Cobb went to Abilene Christian. He's from Abilene. And he got kicked out of school. People and the dorm director, the athletic director always goes, he's the modern day Tex Cobb. Talking about me. Of course, Tex Cobb's a different level. But Tex Cobb got kicked out because he had two dorms, Maybe and Morris, I think were the names of them. And Edwards and Morris. I can't remember some of those names, but they faced each other. He was shooting arrows, compound bows, from one dorm through the windows of the other.
No.
And he's telling the story on David Letterman. It's one of the funniest things you've ever heard because Cobb's a hilarious guy. And he says, Letterman goes, well, aren't you scared you might have killed somebody? He goes, no, no, no. That's why I lit them on fire so they'd see them coming. So he shoots flaming arrows.
Flaming arrows. I love it. I thought Jack was bad. He was out of Orange Field there, the football stadium. He was shooting arrows over the top of the stadium into the parking lot. And there was some coach there. They caught one, and the coach started, all right, who's doing it? They somebody ran a Jack off to this Brisco, and that was one of his visits to Iowa. So, a lot of crazy damn people back there.
So you were like one of 5 children, right?
6, yeah.
6.
Four boys and 2 girls, John.
Did the other boys play athletics, wrestle?
My oldest brother Gene, man, he kind of set the standard. He was one of the big 2-3 sport high school athletes. He got a basketball scholarship to Murray State and played I think played in playoff one year. But yeah, he was all state at Bowlegs High School. That's where we went to out of Bowlegs, Oklahoma, just right outside of Seminole. Sort of like Sweetwater, you know. We had a population about 200 or 300. So when the Briscoes left Bowlegs, the population went down. It dropped off the population back. They also said the IQ level went up a lot too. When Jack and I laughed there, but yeah, my brother Gene, he was an all-state football player, all-state basketball player, plays in several track and field events. I had a brother Bill that was famous down here for the body shop. Bill, my brother Gene was a couple of years older than him. When Gene left, Bill kind of was, idolized my older brother. And so Gene went out to California. My brother dropped out of school and out of high school and didn't go to college, but he joined the Marines out there. And they had an all-service team. And he was actually made first team all Marine, all service, all the services combined. And through that, he got a tryout with the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, he lasted about 2 days and he was gone. He didn't take it seriously. But yeah, he was a great athlete. Both of my sisters, they were just students, you know.
Yeah.
And then
so did your brothers never want to get into professional wrestling?
No, Bill kind of did, and we kind of teased Bill about it. But Bill, when he was in Marines, he got hurt quite a bit in the Marines and playing up all service football there, and he was kind of banged up his knees and everything. But Bill was actually a little bit bigger than Jack, so neither Jack and I were the biggest. My brother James, being a big basketball player, he's 6'3", he just celebrated his 86th birthday, so
really,
had pretty good health, and he's the only brother I got left. Of course, both of my sisters are still with us, and so I come from a pretty good athletic family. Yes.
So when your brother broke into the business, how soon before he smartened you up?
A while. I mean, and I was fortunate. I would say a while. He smartened me up. I mean, John, we've been wrestling since I was 6 years old. And I knew Danny Hodge, and I knew what kind of animal Danny was, in college and high school, because we grew up so close together. Our towns were so close together, as you know, through experiencing Danny Hodge grabbing you, telling you he's part of that area too. And so, but what was your question? How long? So, hey, I kind of knew that it wasn't for real, but I didn't know all the parts like that and how they were able to dance in the ring so damn smooth together. How they were able to do all that stuff together and to catch each other. That was the amazing part to me. These guys, how the athletic part of it really amazed me. As an athlete, you kind of know something going on, but as an athlete, also you just sit there. Holy cow, these guys are tremendous at what they do. So that aspect of the business really, really what caught me. Just the athletic ability of it. But Yeah, after Jack's first year, they didn't keep you in a training center for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, there was like 4 or 5 workouts for Jack. Jack won the national championship in March. April, he was on TV in Oklahoma City having his first wrestling match with Ronnie Garvin. And still, Ronnie was, I'll get into it there. So, Jack, that first year, during summertime, I was looking for a job. He talked to Leroy McGurk, and I talked to Leroy and let me drive the ring truck. So I started being around these guys, daily during the summertime, and learning. And that's kind of how I morphed into my first match. I had no formal training or anything, but setting up the ring, the old timers would come out, Sputnik Monroe or Fred Phillips or one of those guys running it. Hey, kid, you're wrestling in college. Show me this, and I'll show you something of what we do. So I get in the ring, I'd show them, a little bit of college, and they'd show me a little bit. So I'd have bits and pieces of the business, all summer long, tucked in my brain there. But several years down the line, I was off from spring break or off from some holiday, and I went on a road trip with Jack, and we were down in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I'll never forget. And Danny Hodge got cut open. I mean, he was bleeding from asshole to elbow, as they say. And so Jack and I were walking from the arena back to the hotel, and I said, "Man, that was a wild match. That's the first time I'd seen a lot of blood live. I'd seen it on TV and stuff like that. I couldn't believe Danny was bleeding like Jack. How did they bleed like that?" And he kind of looked around, like, "I'm not supposed to tell you this." He said, "Well, promise you won't tell anybody. This is my brother." I said, "No, tell me. Now I know them." He said, they cut each. I said, "What do you mean they cut each? They cut themselves?" He said, "That's what he went in. He told me how they made a blade." And I said, "Holy shit, man." I was scared to death when I found that out. So that's basically how I got smartened up. And like I said, I got smartened up by these guys showing me stuff in the ring, during the summertime.
And your first match, they just kind of put you in, right?
Yeah, first match at Gorgeous George Jr. They were up in somewhere in Missouri, Joplin or Springfield.
Oh, I just put that story I saw for our website out on the Gorgeous George Jr. getting arrested down in Juarez.
Oh yeah, well, what a great story! But Joe, what a great guy! We painted George's Cadillac turquoise. He said like the flower, like George Senior
Yeah.
had. And we also painted Dusty Road, the Evil Knievel white Cadillac with the stars and stripes on it, back in the day. So anyway, I was making a road trip with Jack. We're going up to Missouri. And so we got up there, and they were scheduled to wrestle Tom Ernesto and Jody Hamilton. And I think Pat Jr. or Nick Patrick told the story too on our podcast. But they were some of the guys that would come out and show me some stuff. So George got hurt, and a promoter, Bob Clay, George is hurt. We got nobody for the tag team. Jack, looks like you'll have to work a single match. And they just started a program with Jack and George. They wanted to continue. And Jody said, "How about the kid there? He can go." And Jack looks at me like, you're like telling me something, And Jody, Tom said, "Yeah, we show him stuff all the time in the ring. He can handle a tag match as long as we don't let him do anything fancy or anything out of the ordinary." So Jack pulled out a pair of tights, and I borrowed a pair of shoes, and I went in. I back in those days, they only had like 6 or 8 guys on a card. So you had to do what they call a warm-up match. Part of the tag team would go out first match and work like 10 or 15-minute match. They said, "We'll take him out on this warm-up match, and we'll see exactly what he can do in the match." And they came over to me, "Jody, kid, don't you do a damn thing unless I tell you to." I'm scared to death of these guys, man. They were the most fearsome tag team in Oklahoma history. I was scared to death of them, so I wasn't going to do nothing. So I went out there. We walked around a little bit, got our 10 minutes in. It seemed to go well. We'll come back in. They were really happy with it. So then we went out and did a 2 out of 3 fall match out there. That's when Jody Hamilton, and I'm sweating like crazy. and the blade deal. I was telling you. So so I'm there, and so I had that long hippie hair. I was in college, and so Jody pulled the hair back. He said, "Don't move, kid. I'm gonna gig you." And I'm what? I knew what that was, man. I don't know. So I felt like he ran across like that, and I was sweating. And man, I'm starting to slap my head, turn around. They're all three laughing their ass off at me. He just took his fingernail and went across my forehead like that. And that felt like a razor blade in the heat and everything. And I through the sweat, I thought, man, I got up. I was looking for that blood. I was holy shit, but they didn't do it. But that's basically how I started in the business.
One time we were Stone Cold to hit the ring, and he hit me with a chair really hard, and I rolled out of the ring, and I put my hand in, and it got into some of Gangrel's blood that he spit. So anyway, I rolled out of the ring, and I've got my hand on my.
You know how gross that sounds? How dumb that sounds?
Yeah. So, and I kind of had my hand on my head, and I look, and it's covered in blood, but it was the blood that Gangrel had, spit out, the fake blood.
Yeah.
So I turned, I squeezed to get it coming because I thought, man, I'm busted wide open. I want to get this on camera. So I turned to Ron. I go, "Juice coming well?" He goes, "Huh?" So I get to the back. Nobody said a word to me. I'm mad because all that sweat. I think I'm bleeding. And then plus the blood on my hand. And I get back there and look in the mirror. There's no blood whatsoever.
Wow. Well, you kind of got in the business the same way I did, right? Just by accident, or not in the business, but your first match was kind of like
my first match. We're going to have Rod Price on hopefully sometime soon. I come down from Brad Reingens and come down to Dallas and go to the Sportatorium Friday afternoon, knock on the door, and James Beard answers. Dick Murdoch and Skandor Akbar were in the office, and James says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I want a job." And he said, "Well, are you a wrestler?" I said, "Well, not really. I've been trained." And he goes, "Who trained you?" I said, "Brad Reingens." He goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Brad?" And I said, "Yeah, just came down from Minnesota." He goes, "What'd you do before?" I said, "Well, I played a little pro football." So he goes, "Well, come in the office." So I went in the office and met Murdoch and Akbar and the guys. And Lou Perez, who was Al Perez's working cousin, couldn't make the show from travel or something like that. He was in the main event with Rod Price for the title. And so they didn't have a match. So Murdoch says to Akbar, "Let's put the kid in there as a surprise." And Akbar said, "He's never worked." And Murdoch goes, "Brad Reingens trained him." So he says, "If he's not any good, we'll go 2 minutes. If he's good, go 20. If we got something. If not, doesn't matter. We'll try." So I'm expecting just to go out there and get a job, do a job. I don't know. I don't know anything about the business. I don't know nothing. So I go out there with Rod Price and James Beard's referee, and Rod takes me 20 minutes in the first night in the business. Wow. In the Sportatorium main event.
Wow. And a sold out house.
Yeah, back to the roof, back to the rafters. I come back, and Kendo Nagasaki was there, Sakurada.
This is amazing.
Oh, and he says he didn't see me work. He didn't know that I couldn't work. He didn't know that was my first match. He just knows I'm in the main event. I played pro football, and I was trained by Brad Reingens. I'm in the main event at Sportatorium. So he comes, he goes, "You come Japan?" I go, "Yeah, sure." And so I'm booked to go to Japan 2 months. I've been in the business 30 minutes total. I've been the main event of
and already got a damn job.
And I've already got a tour to Japan.
Wow.
So when I get to Japan, thank God James Beard was one of the main bookers there for Kendo. He and Kendo were good friends. James, really competent guy. Good guy.
Yeah, sharp guy. Great guy.
Sharp guy.
And he's starring a movie The Call.
That's right. Yeah. A really good man. I love James. And so I get over there, and James and Bob Orton are really helping me out. Bob tagging with Bob Orton Jr., the WrestleMania main event for WrestleMania 1. And so Bob asked me one day, he goes, "Kid, some of the stuff you do is good. Some of it makes no sense. How long have you been working?" And I said, 2 months, sir. And he goes, No, not how long you've been in Japan. How long you been working? And I said, 2 months, sir. He goes, "The hell you doing here?" I said, I don't know. So Bob would take me to the mats before the matches and show me, sugars and hooks. He'd show me how they're blowing me up, show me how they're taking advantage of me, because I didn't know any of that. I just knew kind of moves and
That's something you got to learn unless you got a veteran like Bob.
That's right. And Bob, I was tagging with Bob, and Bob, he was such a good dude, just a wonderful man. And that he would take me and show me all this stuff and show me how not to blow up, show me how to make it till the end of the match, show me what they're doing to me, show me a few sugars and hooks and how to get out of them and stuff like that. Because, what they would do is, as you know, these good amateur Japanese wrestlers would just kind of, ride me for a while and blow me up.
Yeah,
no sense in fighting me right off the bat. Then
you're not so big, right?
then you're not so big. So yeah, that was my first experience. I tell you how I got booked in Germany. I had sent Otto Vance pictures, videos, all this stuff. Otto didn't look at one of them. When I got there, I figured he looked at my videos. He's sitting there, and Larry Cameron had died in the ring. As we talked with Tony St. Clair, against Tony St. Clair, the tour before in Bremen. And apparently there was something kind of suspicious about Larry's activity. I don't know. None of the Americans came back. So they needed a whole new American crew. Wow. And so Otto was signing all these guys he didn't know. He's sitting there, and Jimmy Suzuki, Jimmy, the Japanese reporter that, worked a lot in the States as well.
Right, yeah.
He's sitting there in Otto's office, and Otto's down to his last spot. And he goes, "Oh, I know Johnny. Johnny's a good boy." And Otto goes, "Okay, I take him." That's how I got hired.
Wow.
I was over there 2 years.
Wow. 2 years, you spent 2 years over there. That had to be such an experience. I know we've talked about this before, but I find it so interesting how you can work, all those spots in that same town over and over and over again.
The cool part was the hardcore fans would get tickets, season tickets. So like when we're in Hanover, we'd wrestle for 56 straight days, 8 weeks, basically, roughly, give or take a few days. And those guys would come to every single match, every single night. So they'd come for 2 straight months because that was their year deal. They get season tickets and they'd come for the whole year. And so every match had to be different. Every match, had spots, had to change orders, and I learned a really important lesson. I remember we're out there on a Wednesday. Wednesday was our worst night. We had, like, on the weekends, we'd have crazy nights. I don't know I remember what we called them, but you could like challenge a guy during the tournament. I want to challenge you to a cage match. I want to challenge you to a street fight. So you'd have the outside of the tournament matches on the weekends.
So it was the guys challenging. It wasn't the fans challenging.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And, it was all, a work part of the show, but that's how you'd end up with crazy matches on the weekends or our championship matches that, guys would come in from overseas to wrestle the champion, Franz Schumann or Luke Poirier, Rambo, or I think Finley may have been one of the year. He was champion on and off during that time. So was St. Clair. And then they had Dom and Tog ladies night. So you'd have the weekends would be packed. Mondays would be packed, but Wednesdays was terrible. I mean, terrible. And I remember that Finley pulled me aside one day. He goes, "Today's the most important day to work because there's not a crowd there. There's going to be no reaction." He goes, "But those are your hardcore fans. And if we lose them, we lose our base." He said, "So Wednesdays is always important." And those guys would go out there and they would bust their ass for 4 or 5 rounds on Wednesdays. I mean, those were real professionals, the guys that were over there for the Europeans, the English, the Irish. They were real top pros.
You had to have great camaraderie too, living in that caravan type thing, right? That atmosphere all the time.
Oh yeah, it was tremendous. It was, guys would tell you if we could make enough money over there to make it worthwhile to work there forever, guys would have worked there forever. It was that much fun. Wow. Guys would sit around, they'd drink some beers at night, or they'd cook together, and it was fun. It was a good fun experience with good fun guys. And guys that didn't fit in wouldn't stay long.
Yeah. What was the average length of tour over there for you?
7 months was the whole tour. 7 or 8 months was the whole tour. Start in June, end up in December. And we'd start in Austria, then work Germany at the end of it. Guys would come over for a month or two. I remember Anvil Neidhart came over. He wasn't booked for any longer. He came over about 4 or 6 weeks or something like that one time when we were in Bremen. Glenn Jacobs came over. the first year I was there, I believe it was, came over for, I think, Bremen. We were a tag team when he came over. The 5 meter tag team. And
Was this tied in any to the UK wrestling, to the wrestling in England with the organizations there?
no, I
Was
think they worked,
Otto just a completely different?
I think they worked with Orig out of Wales,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was. There was no.
So the Johnny Saints and the guys like that, did they ever pass through there or what?
Yeah, they did. I mean, this was. I don't know if it's the most prestigious tour, but guys really wanted to be on it.
Yeah.
You know, to get St. Clair from England, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, to get a guy that big a star from England, I mean, that was a big deal to come over there, and because the money was consistent and the money was good.
Yeah.
And the referees,
Was a guy like Regal on the tour or anything?
yeah, he wasn't on any of the ones with me. He'd already gone to WCW.
Okay.
But yeah, he was there. I mean, nearly any top English wrestler had worked in Germany at some point or another.
So tell me this, Joe. How did your next stop? I think was WWE. How did that connection end up? How did you get to me?
So I've got to ask Bruce Pritchard for sure. But literally, I get a notice. I can't remember who. I've asked Bruce who it was. He thought it was maybe not Neidhart. I can't remember who. Owen, maybe. I can't remember. Somebody told me one day. This is going to sound crazy. Said go down to the payphone. We're in Bremen. Go down to the payphone at 2
They're telling you or telling Bruce?
telling me. So
Okay.
go down to the payphone on Sunday at 2:00. WWE's calling you.
Sounds like a pickup or something like that.
Oh my goodness. So at 2:00, I'm sitting there thinking this is a rib.
Was you believe it? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, this has got to be a rib, but I got to at least go. You know, even if it's a rib, I had nothing,
you gotta go.
I had nothing else to do. I thought maybe the rib would be funny. I assumed it was a rib. So I go. It makes the story better, but it was true. It was raining. It was cold rain, and I hadn't. Obviously, nobody knew that was going to. But I walked down there with an umbrella. It's cold rain. I'm standing there at this payphone by myself at 2:00 on Sunday afternoon, and I'm thinking I'm the dumbest human being on the planet. And I know the boys are watching me somewhere. I just know that something's going to happen. But it's actually, you know how you are in a territory. They don't care if the rib's on you. You just kind of want to see what it is because I know this is going to be funny.
That's great ribs so far, yeah.
Something's going to happen. I don't know what it is. The phone rings, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. So I answered. I said, hello. And it was Bruce Pritchard. He goes, John, Bruce Pritchard, WWE, WWF at the time. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. I don't know where he got the payphone number. I don't know. I got to ask him. I've asked him before. He doesn't remember. He thinks it was Owen. He doesn't remember where he gets the payphone number. But it's him and Pat. They'd seen my videos or something. They said, we want you to come through Bethlehem, Philadelphia, with a pay-per-view and have a tryout match. And I said, well, I've been contacted by WCW. They said, well, we want you to come here first. And I said, okay, I'll fly directly in. And so I got my flight back there, and they were going to fly me, I think, home from there. I'm going to Atlanta. I can't remember how it was, but I was flying there, and WWE was taking care of my travel.
You were going to Atlanta from there.
Yeah, I was going to Atlanta. So I'm paying for the flights. I think I'm paying for the flights. So I said, okay. So anyway, I finally agreed, and I finally realized it really was Bruce Pritchard, who I had no idea.
Did you know Bruce?
I knew who he was, obviously, from Brother Love, but no idea WWE anything because I didn't read the dirt sheets, and nobody had them over there, so I didn't keep up with anything. It was hard to, and so, but then I had to decide whether I was going to tell Otto because he'd put me over in I think 3 of the tournaments, and I felt terrible because I loved.
Did you have a break at that time, or were you tour for?
No, I was working every night, so I worked that night, that Sunday.
The tour wasn't finished up. Okay.
No, I still had 2 or 3 weeks, and so I pulled Finley aside, and I said, Dave, I need to talk to you. And Dave said, WWE called you, didn't they? I don't know how he knew. I guess he'd had that conversation with Americans before, and I said, yeah. I said, I want to do the right thing. I don't want to screw. Otto's been so good to me. I don't want to screw him. And he goes, well, just go tell him. And so I went there and told him, and I said, Otto, I don't have a deal, but I think I'm not coming back. And I said, I want you to know that in case that changes the finish of the last night, because they were going to have me in the championship match the last night, and I certainly didn't want to go over. I don't know if that was a plan or not. I was worked with Ice Train, is who it was, Harold Hoke, and they put Harold over, which was great. Harold was very popular over there, very good guy, and very popular over there. So, but anyway, I did talk to Otto about it. Said, hey, look, I'm not coming back. So, just to make sure that you don't feel like I'm screwing you out of this.
Good, good. So you had an offer to go to WCW at the same time. How did that take place too? You didn't go to no phone both there, did you?
I think it was DDP that had reached out to me. I believe that's who it was. It was not Bischoff. It was not. This was before all this stuff with Bischoff. I think became just the main guy. I think it was DDP that's saying that, hey, if you come here, this is what they'll give you, and this is what they'll do. And so I had this deal, and I guess Dusty was down there then. And so that was the deal that I had down there, but I really wanted to go to WWE. So I had WWE come to first, but I didn't know if they had signed me or not. And so that's when I came down and met you.
Yeah, cool. The rest is history, as they say. During your time with WWE, I got to ask you this question because he's near and dear friend of both of ours. We have a good time on Florida State nights when they're playing the football game. We do a threesome with the great Ron Simmons there. How did your friendship with Ron develop? And because it was such a long, trusting, loving friendship, that still to this day you guys think highly of each other, and just it's unbelievable to see.
Yeah,
unusual in our business.
I think people that are the same interest kind of just attract. I guess is how it is. Ron and I both loved football. He was a lot more successful than I ever was, much more, not even a different stratosphere, but we both loved football. We both played football. And so we both kind of had the same background, and we both kind of liked the same things. So we had traveled together a couple of years maybe before we ever became tag team partners. I think that's why they ended up putting us together. And believe it or not, I mean, they didn't have anything for Ron or me. I mean, I say believe it or not.
Well, you were basically in Japan thinking your career was basically over with WWE, right?
Oh, absolutely. After the Montreal Screw job, Barry Windham and I were going to Japan like 2 days later. We flew from Canada, and my whole reason to go over there, and Barry knew that, was to get a job with Baba. And Barry wanted to be the liaison, I believe, I won't speak for him, between Baba and WWE, which is what Jim Ross also kind of wanted Barry to be. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. But then when everything changed with after the Montreal Screw job, they started signing guys to contracts. My contract was up by the time I got back. And that's when they had decided they wanted to sign me, which I didn't think they were going to when I went over there. When I went over there, I didn't think WWE would sign me. But everything changed after Brett left the WCW, and all of a sudden now they realize they got to sign guys to guaranteed contracts. That's when the guaranteed contracts came in. So by January, everything had changed, and they decided they wanted to sign me to a 5-year contract is what it was at the time,
right?
Which is the first guaranteed contract I'd ever had.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you and Ron, how long? I can't remember exactly. How long did that run last? And what was your? I mean, you guys did so many iconic things. But what was your favorite? This is a question from my son Joe. What was your favorite moment with Ron Simmons and APA?
We had so much fun with Rebecca Romaine. Remember, the beautiful actress.
Yeah.
So she was promoting something with Chris Klein and LL Cool J, and she had to down a full beer, for the part of the scene. And so we told her, said, Rebecca, we'll get you, water and put it in the beer can. She goes, no, I'm fine. Well, we had to do the scene like 4 or 5 times. She literally downed almost a 6-pack of beer, guzzled them. She was fine. It was just
kept up with you guys. Huh?
That's right. She was just the nicest lady, just nice as she could be. Beautiful as all get out, but just nice as she could be. That was so much fun working with LL Cool J and Rebecca Romaine at the time. Then we got to work with Mr. T. T was fun. He didn't want to see anything played back. We do the scene and you don't see it back. Nope. Never watch it back. Never watch it back. And he was fine. Yeah. One of the guys I worked with that was the best was Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was out of this world. He sat down with me, and this is for commentary, and he was beyond polite and respectful. And he goes, "Hey, tell me about the storyline so I can keep up with it." he was, I mean, he was like the professional, like they used to say about, here's your sign. Who was uh, the comedian from the South. Anyway, they always say he's a typical businessman until he gets out there comedian. All of a sudden, he becomes this country guy. Kevin Hart was the guy that was, like this real business guy. Then all of a sudden, the camera comes on and he becomes this outlandish character. It was amazing to watch because he took all these notes, nice as he could be. As soon as the camera goes on, he is 100% performer, and he was awesome to work with.
Wow. That's a great thing about WWE too. We get to work with a lot of different celebrities from many multiple fields out there. And did you find a respect from these people pretty equal to what the respect that you guys gave back? Or was there anybody that ever kind of just stepped out of line?
There was a guy one time, I can't remember who it was. He told me I tried to help him on commentary, and he goes, "I hosted SNL." I just remember thinking, what a dick. And I didn't feed him anything that helped him. I just remember sitting there thinking, I didn't do anything to sabotage him. I just didn't help him. He was the only one. I can't remember who it was, right? I would tell it. I can't remember who it was. Jeff Foxworthy was that comedian that used to do the
Oh, yeah, Jeff Foxworthy.
Arnold was the nicest. Arnold came in. You remember when Arnold came in?
Oh, Arnold. I loved Arnold. Every time I was around it probably a half dozen times. I've never been seen him.
There's not a bigger fan of Arnold than me, and he was the hottest celebrity in the world at the time. I mean, the world. He was on fire, and he came in. I remember he had his kids with him, and we're at the Staples Center, and he's asking people as like a polite, humble person that nobody knows, can I get a picture with you? You're freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was so cool to see a guy that is that successful, that was that humble. I mean, he's just the nicest guy. And I told him, by the way, I saw him backstage, and I don't speak hardly any German anymore, but I told him in German, I worked for Otto Vance, who was his childhood buddy, and I lived in your hometown of Graz, Austria. And he lit up like a little kid,
wow.
I'd worked for Otto and lived in his hometown.
So they grew up in the same city together, where they were lifelong friends too, right?
Yep. Otto was a boxer and Arnold was a bodybuilder, and Otto used to talk about Arnold all the time.
Wow. John, man, that's been a great story. We've had a great hour and a half here, man, just BS about.
I didn't get to ask you as many questions as I wanted.
Well, you got one more then. All right, we'll go one more. So I'm tired of your old Texas stories, man. I didn't ask you a Dickie Murdoch story because I know you go to the old semi story about puking across the Texas state line there.
Well, I was going to ask you about the Buzz Sawyer thing, not the Buzz Sawyer thing, but the Ole Anderson bounty.
That I laugh now about it, and I laughed when I was told about it because I'm really, it was Jack and I had some battles with the Road Warriors, but we had so much respect for each other, and they could have their size, they could have mopped the floor with us any time, but we felt we had equalizer in our wrestling skill level to compete. But so we got along really well, just had that respect for each other, trusted each other, and let each team do things that we wouldn't let other tag teams do with us, and vice versa. They let us take them down and ride them. They put our stuff over, we put their stuff over. So we developed that friendship, like you develop. And so we made the sell, and Jack and I were businessmen, plus we owned part of the territory. So we fulfilled our bookings in Georgia, up until our bookings were out. So Buzz, Laurinaitis, which one was he? Joe
Animal.
Joe called us to the back behind it.
Joe.
We're at the old Cleveland Auditorium. I don't know if you've been in there, but it's an auditorium with curtains and everything, 3 levels of curtains. So we went back behind the back curtains there, and he said, guys, I got to tell you something. He said, Ole has offered everybody on the roster money if they would hurt you guys before you guys leave here. We just kind of shook our head. He said they offered us $5,000. We told him, let's stick it up his ass. We ain't taking it. We like you guys too much. But we just want to let you know. It didn't come from us, but let you know that nobody out there had said anything. But one guy, Bud Sawyer, said he'd tried. We were booked with Bud the last night as it happened, you know. And we'd worked with Bud since Bud was starting in the business. He was already knew, you know. If that's the best he could buy for $5,000, we're going home safe. so yeah, that's kind of like it happened there. So you know, last night comes, you know, bell rings. We're cautious, and we don't change our style. We're out there just wrestling, doing what we're supposed to do, and trusting your opponents until they show otherwise that we shouldn't trust them. And not one time during that match did Buzz decry anything or get stiff or anything else. So if Animal was kind of just throwing his name out there to kind of develop a compete for that last match, I don't know, but nothing ever happened of it. So, you know, so we walked out of there on all of our limbs with all of our limbs intact. So.
Have you ever run into Ole Anderson since or anything?
Oh yeah, I tell you what, John. You know, when I turned 75, I came to one of these epiphanies. You like me saying that word, epiphanies, man, in life. You know, no more hate, man. No more. You know, no more animosity. I don't care what happened. You know, I love everybody, man. I'm one of those people now. You know. So I was at an autograph signing deal. And thanks for asking this question because I never told this story. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina, one of these autograph things. And I told my wife before I went, I said, if I see Ole Anderson, I'm going to go up and talk to him. I'm going to offer my hand, shake his hand, and tell him one thing about Ole Anderson. Ole was one of those guys, and you've had them. When you get in a ring with them, they work so damn hard that they bring your level of work up a little bit. And that was one of Ole's main assets that he had when he never took a night off. He worked his ass off every night. So I really appreciated being in the ring with Ole and Gene Anderson too. Gene was the same way. That's where where Ole got it from. But they made you better workers after you stepped out of the ring with them. And brother, if you're a professional and you like to work, you love our business, you appreciate guys like that. So I had that to thank to him. You know, a lot of the other business deals, I loved Ole as a competitor in the ring, but I couldn't stand him as a business partner out of the ring. So I saw him in Charlotte, North Carolina. Kind of funny. All these men standing around. They know the heat that supposedly there is Ole and a Briscoe. So they see me walking over there. So a path kind of clears. Ole's in a wheelchair, and that makes it even more special to me to get it out of my head, you know. So he's leaning over in a wheelchair. And I walk in, I start my Ole, Gerald Briscoe, because he's old and you know he's old, and so and I don't have the hair back when Ole remember I have. No, you know, I said, yeah, I have Ole. I said, Ole, I want to tell you one thing. And he kind of now leading off, he's afraid when I told him I was going to tell him one thing, I was going to take a sucker punch. I said, I really appreciate being in the ring with you, Ole. You made me a better worker, and I'll always remember that. Thank you very much. Shook his hand, turned around, and walked off. You know, and felt good about it. Whether
great.
he did or not, I did. So, like I said, you know, the hell with it.
That's great. Hey, I know we're about to go. I got one quick story. You got to deal with Owen. You had to deal with him from the office level, so you probably had tons of headaches from Owen because So we're in Poughkeepsie,
Africa everywhere, man. That didn't matter.
Oh, we're in Poughkeepsie one time, and Owen is. Remember, they had the curtain there, and you had little holes in the curtain where guys would look through the curtain on stage, and so Brett, I think Taker were at the next pay-per-view, the main event, and they're both kind of standing by the curtain and kind of looking through the things. Owen grabs the curtain and pulls the whole thing back, and the entire arena can see the entire roster standing together. Taker by Brett.
That's all, man. What a great thrill, privilege we had traveling the world with Owen Hart.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was so much. It was so much fun. And Owen is one of those guys that you never got mad at him. You're just like, oh,
yeah, you couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't.
I've
told you the story where he screwed up my whole African safari camera on the photograph collection. And I still to this day get mad about it, but when I get mad about it, I think, hell, it was a hard heart, you know.
Yeah, you can't get mad at him.
And I get a smile on my face, you know. But man, yeah, that's what our business was. So fortunate to travel the world, number one, like we did. But with a group of guys that you grew to love and respect, and there, you know yourself, John. On those tours, they're the hardest damn thing in this business you can do because you're away from home. You're with it. You don't see anybody that other than who you're working with. And you're stuck. You're for weeks and weeks and hours upon time. But man, you just grow to respect and love. I love everybody on the tour so much. And we were just so fortunate to have a group of guys that we got to travel around with during those times.
Yeah, it was a wonderful. The whole thing was wonderful. It was just fun. I'm glad we didn't have social media, not because of being exposed, but I mean we didn't have anything else to do but entertain each other. So we had.
Oh, we did that, man.
We did that. Well, Mr. Brisco, we just had the two best guests of all time on our show.
Yeah, I think the best subject content we've ever had on this show. And
that's right. It was us.
That's saying a lot because we've had a lot of great guests on our show. You hadn't tuned in. Come on, guys, get with the
program. Hey, and go on our YouTube channel and check out the playlist. Most of these guys that we've had on here, we also have all their matches underneath it and all kinds of stuff. You can just go down a rabbit hole and have a lot of fun on our YouTube.
We'll have Jack and Bubba's on there when Jack dropped the title.
Oh, that's right. I'll make sure it's on there under Brisco Brothers.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot, John. It was fun. Have a great one. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year.